I was halfway through building a porch swing for my dog when I glanced up and spotted a stranger on my property, wielding a chainsaw and waving at me like we went way back. Behind him, an excavator was already clawing into the corner of my vegetable garden. I blinked hard, half conviewing said I was having a stroke, until I saw Herlinda Grayson decked out in pearls, high heels and a tracksuit standing smugly at my property line with a clipboard like she was appraising land for royalty. Wrench still in hand, I marched over and demanded to know what was going on. Linda flashed a patronizing smile and said, "Oh, didn't you hear? I sold this section to my nephew. It's his now. You'll need to move your fence by Monday." I stared at her, wondering if this was some bizarre prank, but her dead serious expression told me otherwise. This wasn't a mix-up, it was war. Let me back up an hour. I'd planned a quiet morning on my 5-acre slice of old farmland in the peaceful outskirts of Pine Hollow. Retirement had been good to mesmerizes, fresh tomatoes, and the kind of calm city folks only fantasize about. My dog Buddy had claimed the porch like a wise old man, so I figured he deserved his own swing. That's what I was working on when the rumble of diesel engines and shouting shattered the silence like a punch to the gut. I walked to the edge of my land and saw the chaos. Trucks parked on my grass, a cement mixer humming, and some guy spreading blueprints across a pickup hood. I asked a worker what was happening, and he said they were prepping for a foundation pour. I told him he had the wrong place. He politely insisted his boss, Jake Grayson, owned the parcel. Then Linda strutted up like she ruled the world. "Tom," she said, hand on her chest, "I'm sure you've just forgotten. This corner of your land was part of our family's original homestead. My granddad owned all this and there was a paperwork glitch in the 80s when it was sold off. I've spent months fixing it for Jake. We filed the papers last week, it's all legal." I asked, keeping my cool, if she had a deed or sale agreement. She handed me a flimsy packet, stapled and highlighted like a kid's homework, full of vague descriptions and a hand-drawn map with arrows pointing to my barn. One scribbled note even said, "Prob belongs to us." I told her straight up it was nonsense. I had the deed, tax records, and legal title to the whole plot. Linda just grinned wider. "Maybe check with the county office," she said sweetly. "But don't wait too long." The cruise booked through the month. Buddy must have felt the tension because he trotted over and let out a low growl. Linda flinched and called for Jake, who ambled up in camo shorts and a too-tight muscle shirt, offering me a burger like we were celebrating. I didn't respond, just turned and headed back to my house, mind racing. Inside, I dug out my deed from the file cabinet. It was solid, my name, the coordinates, the 2015 sale record, all verified by the town clerk, Martha, who'd been there since fax machines were cutting edge. I called her and laid out the situation. After a long pause, she sighed, "Linda Grayson again. Lord help us. Bring that deed in, Tom. Let's see what she's up to." I drove into town, steaming but trying to stay level-headed. I knew I was right, but people like Linda thrive in the murky zones, barely legal enough to cause trouble, slick enough to make you second-guess. At the clerk's office, I handed Martha my papers. She scanned them, checked her files, and whistled. "Well, look at that," she said, tapping her screen. Linda filed a boundary correction, tried to backdate it with a 1983 plat that doesn't even cover your land. She claims it's a family trust mix-up, but there's no trust document, just her word and some cursive scribbles. Jake's already got a temporary construction permit off it. I asked if they could do that. "It'll hold for a couple days," she said. "But with your deed and proof you've been here, we can kill it fast." I thanked her, grabbed a certified deed copy and the original survey, and headed home. On the way, I called Sheriff Daniels, who'd tangled with Linda before over her infamous duck-feeding fiasco. He promised to swing by. When I got back, the mess had escalated. Jake had more workers on site, one sawing near my fence. Linda waved from a lawn chair like she was at a picnic. "Tom," she chirped, "just sprucing things up." Then the sheriff's cruiser rolled in. Daniel stepped out, hand on his belt, eyeing the scene. "Mind explaining this?" Linda launched into her tale of ancestral rights and clerical errors, with Jake claiming he'd sue if I interfered. I handed Daniels my deed. He read it, glanced at Linda's doodled map, and sighed. "All right, everybody stop work now. Tom, bring the official deed to town tomorrow, sort this." "Linda, you're building on land you don't own. That's trespassing till proven otherwise." Linda huffed. Jake muttered about lawyers. I just smiled and patted Buddy, knowing this wasn't just getting stopped, it was getting crushed. Next morning I was up before dawn, coffee brewing, deed in a folder like it was gold. The quiet almost felt normal until I saw Jake's truck still on my grass, his half-built deck now creeping further onto my lawn. He must have worked overnight. I stared at it, not mad, just stunned at the sheer gall. These people weren't confused, they were betting on audacity. I drove to the county zoning office, ready to end the circus. The place reeked of stale coffee and ink. After navigating bureaucracy and torture chamber waiting room chairs, I met Carl, a balding guy drowning in folders and energy drinks. I explained Linda's boundary correction and permit. The land's mine, I said. I've got the deed, survey, and a decade of leave wying there. Carl pulled up the permit. It's Pro VY Signal flagged now. We can't yank it without a hearing or inspection, but file a complaint. I handed over my deed copy, photos of my fence, and a security cam shot of me planting tomatoes in the disputed spot last spring. Carl nodded. This'll help. It's gonna be a mess. I stopped by Martha's office next. She had a file labeled Grayson Land Dispute ready. You were right, she said. Linda forged a surveyor's signature from '83. The guy's dead, and his son disputed it yesterday. This could mean charges if you push it. I blinked. So it's not just shady, it's illegal? She shrugged. We can't call it, but it's enough for an investigation. Want me to escalate? Absolutely, I said. And dig up anything tied to that permit. That afternoon I called my old pal Ed Larson, a retired land attorney who could recite statutes while cracking peanuts. He'd once sued the state over a culvert and won. If anyone could unravel this, it was Ed. He showed up with a fat folder and a thermos of what he called court brew. Smelled like spice cider with a kick. After touring the property and chuckling at Jake's shoddy deck, he flipped through my deed and photos. She's got squat, he said. It's not even a clever scam. But she's got momentum. That permit buys her time. First, we file an injunction. Second, we hit zoning with a cease and desist for fraud. Third, we shame her publicly. Truth hits harder with a crowd. He was right, Linda's strength was her swagger. People like her banked on others staying quiet. That night, I posted Ed's cease and desist on the site, my fence, and Jake's mailbox. I added motion lights, cameras, and a giant "no trespassing" sign. Linda showed up later, heels clicking down my gravel path. You're being absurd, she snapped. This could have been civil. I handed her the injunction. You forged a document and lied to the county. She waved it off. It's complicated, historical boundaries are messy. Jake's invested a lot. He'll get it back when he sues you, I said. This land's mine, always has been. Her eyes narrowed. I'm connected here, Tom. I'm on committees. People respect me. Ask Daniels how much that's worth on a trespassing report. I shot back. She stormed off, yelling for Jake to move the truck. Next day, Daniels called. I went to the sheriff's office with every document, photo, and clip I had. Linda was there with Jake, smirking as she handed over her EVY Denke. Daniels ignored it, took my deed, and within minutes said, Linda, Jake stops work now. This is trespassing unless you've got legal proof. Linda sputtered about family claims. Daniels cut her off. Claims aren't facts. You've got 72 hours to clear out or it's charges. I left without a word. Justice didn't need a speech, just a solid deed. But Linda and Jake didn't quit. Next day I found a second deck frame, a half-built outdoor kitchen, and a lawn flamingo. Linda added a neon orange fence with a private property, Grayson Estate sign. It wasn't a dispute, Anna Marie, it was madness. I called Ed, who laughed and said, let's give him something to chew on. I bought trail cams, set them up, and caught Jake hosting a land blessing barbecue. 17 people, fairy lights, and Linda toasting on my land. The footage showed kids trampling my tomatoes and the fence collapsing. I took it to zoning with Ed. Carl sighed, this is enough. Permits revoked, stop work orders posted today. By afternoon, an inspector tagged everything. Jake argued. Linda played VY Tim, but the red tag stuck. Linda tried cookies and a buyout next, but I shut the door. Jake kept building anyway, hammering at night until Buddy bolted out, barking like a banshee. Jake tripped, dropped a toolbox on his foot, and his buddy snagged in the fence. I posted the clip online 500,000 views later, entitled Builder vs. Dog went VY Ral. The inspector saw it, issued a demolition order, and Linda's heritage Shrinia canopy with fake history crumbled under court scrutiny. Ed's airtight case won, I kept my land, they got fined, and Linda moved to Florida. Peace returned, Buddy got his swing, and my tomatoes grew back. Proof that truth. A good dog and a solid deed beat arrogance every time.